So in this video, a former Navy SEAL is going to help us understand the connection, the relationship between Russia and the Israeli-Gaza conflict. When I go to my Twitter feed and I click on my Ukraine feed, I see Gaza, and then I see Gaza, and then I see more Israel, and then I mean, it's like it's constant, it's everywhere. Like, what's going on? Okay, let's watch this video, and I'll stop and pause and interact with it. This is a U.S. Navy SEAL squadron leader explains Russia's disaster. It's from the Kyiv Post, and here we go. And I'm going to pause incrementally.
Chuck Farr, it's great to see you today.
Great to see you, Jason. Hey.
So, Chuck, you were a squadron leader at SEAL Team 6. You've got tons of experience. You do a lot of military analysis now. And I wanted to ask you, when you saw what Hamas did in Israel on October 7th, at least it struck me as being very well planned, very well coordinated, and it had a lot of organization, which I've never seen a group like Hamas have before. But more than that, the execution was quite professional. Why do you think that is? Has something changed?
So let's stop there. On October 7th, we saw something that was atrocity on a whole different level, right? It was something where it was coordinated, it was spiteful, I mean, hacking bodies. So it wasn't just, and some people try to write this off initially as it was just, well, they're just seeking their revenge for years of oppression. This was more than that. He's going to explain that.
Changed?
Yeah, something definitely changed. Before the October attacks, Israel always had a really good idea of what Hamas was capable of and what they were planning. They've never undertaken an operation this big. They have never achieved this much surprise. They have never had a broad-based operation like this. And what is obvious, and you have picked this out as well, something fundamentally changed in their organizational principles and their operational security. The change was so great and so rapid. We're definitely talking about coaching from state actors.
Yeah, and that's what experts around the world are saying, that they have to have been backed by a sovereign state, getting real training, getting real advice, getting clear guidance. And it looks like Iran, and it also looks like Russia is involved. Now, why would Russia be involved? Now, that's the next question, but we haven't gotten to that place yet.
That is Iran, and that is Russia. And coincidentally, who benefits? Who benefits from this major unfolding conflict in the Middle East? Iran and Russia have put the needle exactly where the West will react, and that's Israel.
Right. Okay. So why would Russia want to take world's attention off something else, I don't know, Ukraine, and move it to Israel? And they want to keep it there. They want to inflame it. So I spent a lot of time reading RT and TASS and Pravda, and here is RT videos. Just like I just pulled up the last Russian RT videos, like the last thread here. Okay, this is Palestine. This is live stream. Americans bring chaos wherever they go, but they're probably talking about Israel here, Iran or Lebanon, creation of Palestine. Wait a minute, this is RT. Like it's constant videos about what's happening in Gaza and what's happening in Israel. Now, they're saying very little. In fact, in this thread, this like 15 videos before you go to the next one, there was one about Ukraine, which I find fascinating that even RT is saying very little about what's going on in Ukraine. So again, RT is Russia Today if you're not familiar with it. Okay, back to the video.
So looking at all this, it looks like the situation's just getting worse. What do you see coming in the coming days or weeks?
Wow. Well, the first thing that we've seen is there is X amount of international media bandwidth. So the attention of the world has shifted off Ukraine and is now focused on Gaza.
Okay, what he's talking about is that stories displace each other, right? So for a while, the peak was, say, Black Lives Matter, but that's no longer the big thing in the news. Doesn't mean that it's not still relevant or an important story or whatever else, but it has now been minimized as other things have been maximized. And that's just the way that the media cycle works. You only have X number of units, let's say 100 units of things that you can talk about. And if Israel's getting all the attention, then, if Israel gets 70 units of attention of international news, that means there's only 30 left for Ukraine, where there was more before Israel became a story. And that's what he's explaining.
And again, who benefits? Well, it's Russia that benefits from the world not watching Russia's conduct of the Ukraine war, which we have
Right.
seen is brutal. It targets civilians. It's over the top. And most importantly, for someone like Putin, his war is not going well. His military adventure in Ukraine is still a catastrophe. What's going to happen next regarding Gaza? Unfortunately, I don't foresee the situation de-escalating. I think we're definitely going to see Israeli ground combat in Gaza. That's going to be costly. Interestingly,
So that war is going to be on for some time until I wouldn't think it's a matter of weeks. Well, we're already beyond the matter of weeks. It was October 7th. It's November 15th now. I think months from now, we will still be talking about Israel and Gaza, maybe up through Putin's election, I think, which in March or something like that. I think that may still be going even then. It may be done by that point, but it may still be going. And that, again, benefits Putin. And he knows that.
we have a three-dimensional battle space in Gaza. It's one of the most densely populated places in the world, and it has one of the most intricate subsurface networks of any place on Earth, including New York City. Underneath Gaza is a labyrinth of tunnels, supply areas, etc. That's also where the hostages are. So extraordinarily complex, almost impossible to predict. And what do you do? I don't think Israel has ever faced a problem like this.
So it looks pretty worrisome to say the least. Does that make you think perhaps then Russia and Iran have the upper hand?
Well, I don't think that they have the upper hand, but they have achieved their first objective, which is to get the world's attention off Ukraine. I also see, especially,
And think about how that has played out. Think about how the American Congress has stopped funding Ukraine, going, no, we got to do this for Israel. And in reality, Israel is our ally. I talked to a military officer the other day who was talking about how Israel's an ally, and that's why they're getting priority. Ukraine is important, no doubt, but Israel is our only real friend in that space in the Middle East. And if you think about it in those kind of terms, it all makes sense why Israel's getting Israel is displacing Ukraine in the way that they're operating. I'm sad that it is. I wish they would couple these things together and fund Ukraine properly, but I understand why what's happening is happening.
Iran's involvement here in Gaza and with Hamas. Hamas and Hezbollah are Iranian clients, and that's a promotion. They are actually Iranian puppets. The first path to escalate, well, first of all, I would say Iran has very cynically thrown Hamas into this situation they're in right now. There used to be this thing in terrorism, counterterrorism, called limiting factor, where if you were an asymmetrical opponent of a larger opponent, you would not commit 2,500 murders in one afternoon because you will elicit a conventional military response. Iran didn't care about Hamas. It doesn't care about what's going on in Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
So who benefits from that? I think the first path to escalation likely will be Hezbollah joining in the fun. So we'll have to see. They haven't done that on a large scale yet, but if I had to bet on something occurring, it would be that.
So in the end, What's your prediction? What's going to happen to Iran and to Russia?
Well, Russia's military adventure in Ukraine, they are not going to win it. People ask, how did the offensive go this summer? And I ask them, you mean the Russian offensive? There isn't a Russian offensive. They are on the defensive, and they will be until they collapse. What's going on with Iran? They're eventually going to run out of proxy bodies. That's what's going to happen with Iran. I would say this. I'll give them a B plus for this move. They've achieved what they wanted to for right now, but it's going to be a dead end.
Okay, so now there are other ways that they can achieve that. So, for example, if they can get China not involved in uh, backing Russia directly, but China involved in its own adventure, the eyes of the U.S. will go to Taiwan and support Taiwan rather than spend its time focused on Ukraine. Here's another video that I think is really important to understand. This is Robert Kiyosaki just a couple months ago. Robert Kiyosaki is a famous author. He's known for his Rich Dad, Poor Dad series where he's talking about financial literacy and things along those lines. And he pays attention to what's going on in the world. He's in an interview here. I'm just going to show a minute's worth, less than a minute, of him talking about his predictions.
The world is now split in two. It's called Russia, China, America, India in the middle. India's caught now in the middle of the biggest changes in world history. And the war is we're going to go to war. I can tell already. So it's going to be China versus America. You guys already know because you have Pakistan, you still have Kashmir. We're still at war here. But if you don't fight, people just take everything. I wish there wasn't war. Let's live like the Beatles and be paid for. It's not the way life is. What's killing America today is all these.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into any more than that, but like I think if you look, I'm a professor. I think a lot of expertise and people that actually know things in their fields, and I hear the experts lining up saying, look, China is a threat. China is the threat. China is the threat. China is the threat. Now, as an American, I don't get that. I'd be like, let's live and let live. But the Chinese mentality is different than the American mentality. Just like the Russian mentality is different than the American mentality. And I'm starting to see like, okay, there's going to be a big election in Taiwan next year. If it goes wrong, if there's not a somewhat sympathetic to China kind of candidate, if there is a very like, no, we don't want to be part of you, China candidate that's selected, I think you'll see war in Taiwan. And when that happens, Putin wins. Why does Putin win? Because the eyes of the world will shift again from Israel, which hopefully will be over by that point, to Taiwan and not on Ukraine. And I think that is completing the picture of why Russia, or that's answering the question of why Russia is so interested in Gaza and Israel, because it's taking the attention away from what's going on in Ukraine. You tell me what you think. I could be wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong if I am wrong, and we'll have that discussion. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.